Good afternoon and welcome back to Valley News Now. Adam Shelfman today, joined by Jesse Jahner. Sheriff Jahner, thank you so much for joining us in studio. It's a pleasure to have you. And today we're following up on election security. And first of all, I gotta congratulate you and the entire department. Sounds like you guys did a great job.
Yeah, we were real happy with the way yesterday turned out. Of course, our ultimate goal was that everyone was safe, secure, and that we could have a good election and it wasn't interrupted by anything, any outside influences or anything like that. And that happened. We didn't have any issues, so we're very, very happy.
And I was just surprised. I'm from a much bigger state originally, Illinois, and just those lines would be so long. But I was in and out of the Fargo Dome yesterday morning in under 25 minutes, smooth operation. But I know that there was a lot of effort in proactive measures that went into that. And so let's start with that topic of election security and what kind of strategies on the front end you guys employed to make sure it was a very smooth Tuesday.
Yeah, well, it really started a couple of years ago. You know, our county auditor, our finance director, those that are in charge of running the elections, were receiving some information back from the election workers that at different times they felt threatened in different types of situations. And so they really approached our office at that point and asked if there was any sort of training that we could do, that we could give the election workers to make them feel more comfortable in their roles. As we know, a number of them are retired. They're given up extra time to make sure that we can all have these polling sites. And so we really want to make sure that that they felt comfortable in doing that. And so, 2 years ago, we started doing de-escalation training and emergency operations training with those workers, and that's just kind of evolved. This year in March, we had a tabletop exercise, and that included our office, the Emergency Management Office of Cass County Government, IT, the County Administrator, and again our Finance Director and County Auditor's Office. And through that tabletop exercise, we thought about worst case scenarios, contingencies, what might we face during an election cycle, and what would be the ultimate situation that could potentially close polling sites down, right, or make it unsafe for people who are coming to cast their votes. And so we worked through that tabletop, identified some of those situations. Really for us, for me as the sheriff, what I thought about were people calling in swatting type events concerning like maybe a bomb hoax, an active shooter type hoax, and those really, as extreme as those situations would really cause us to look and see if we would be able to keep those election sites open. So we wanted to plan for that. But we started in May doing de-escalation training again with our election poll workers, and then that emergency operations training. And what that entails, the emergency operations, was what would person do in a medical situation if someone had a medical inside the election polling site. If an active shooter were able to make it into the site, how would they respond to that? Just reporting suspicious activity, who do they call? And when they call dispatch, what types of information are we looking for to increase law enforcement's response to those types of events? So we worked through that, and then really it was just a matter of putting together operational plans throughout the year so that, yesterday with the general election, that we had a good, solid plan in place. Because as law enforcement, we always want to be preventive and proactive rather than reactive. We want to have enough resources available and on standby to respond to something, because if we don't have those resources available, there's going to be a lag in response time, and people can get hurt in those types of situations. And so I think all of our agencies, whether it's Fargo PD, West Fargo PD, the Highway Patrol, our agency, we really work well together, and we really take safety planning very serious, especially after July 14th, right. 2023, right? And so we just want to make sure that we plan for maybe a worst case scenario so that our response is efficient and effective. So we planned for active shooter type events, bomb hoax type events, or an actual bomb type situation. And so that's really what we prepared for, and I felt like we had a really good plan yesterday, and going forward from here, we'll continue to have those plans.
And it sounds like a very proactive measure taken. You said you guys were up at 4 a.m. Doing a preventative sweep Tuesday morning. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, we can talk a little bit more freely about that now because obviously that planning and that operation is done. Obviously, prior to yesterday, we couldn't have mentioned a lot of the things that we were doing, for safety reasons, whether it was officer safety, citizen safety, or for our overall operational plan safety. So we obviously consider those things when we bring this information forward to the public. But now that election day is done, we can talk a little bit more freely about it because I really think that it's important for our community to know and the listeners to know how we plan some of these events. And I feel that we're doing a thorough job, and we want people to know how thorough we feel we're being. And so, as far as yesterday, it really started off for law enforcement at 4 a.m. in the morning. Our plan was to do an explosive sweep of 4 of the polling sites. To make sure that if someone did call in a bomb type situation, that we knew that those 4 sites for sure had been swept and that they were free and clear of any type of explosive type situation where a bomb might be on the premises. And we wanted to do that because we knew that if something got called into all the polling sites and all of those sites had to close down, that there's really no other option to prolong the election cycle into the next day or later that evening, that the votes had to be casted yesterday, and we didn't want any disruptions. And of course, we wanted to make sure that everything was safe for people showing up to those sites. So we started at 4 a.m. We did a bomb sweep of 4 polling locations with the help of Fargo PD and their explosive detective dog that they have. And then after that, it was a matter of stationing an officer at each of those polling sites to make sure that we could maintain that security of it the whole time. And when I say station someone at the polling site, we didn't have anyone up in the polling area other than just checking in periodically. But we had law enforcement in the vicinity, in line of sight of those buildings in case something should happen, someone should need assistance, that we were right there and we could respond immediately. So a lot of people don't know that those types of things were done prior to yesterday. And I'd really like to mention our partners, Fargo Police Department, West Fargo Police Department, because they partnered with us to conduct the operations yesterday. And of course, we all work good together, and it's good to collaborate in these types of situations and pool our resources together, brainstorm all of us as far as the planning is concerned, and then execute those plans.
It sounds like a great use of teamwork there, and you guys were very anticipatory about potential challenges, but it seems like it was a pretty smooth day. Did you guys encounter anything unexpected, or perhaps encounter something you did expect, and how did you guys handle that?
Yeah, so for the most part, it was a very quiet day. We didn't have any calls yesterday. During early voting, there was one call for service from law enforcement, and that entailed a election staff, an inspector, I believe, and then one of the electoral judges or something to that nature had a little bit of a disagreement on how the I think the machines were secured or something like that. But election staff was soon to respond to there and look at the overall situation and see if there was anything that was jeopardized as far as the security of how the polling was being done, and that was quickly resolved. No other issues from that point on.
Very good. And I know you mentioned a little bit, but I wanted to ask you about the special training that went into preparing election workers too, because it wasn't just the Sheriff's Department, but it seems like everyone was ready for any situation that could have arose at a polling site.
Yeah, I mean, the ultimate goal of de-escalation, right, is being able to give people pointers, give them some training on how to communicate during a volatile situation, and how to bring people's behaviors and escalation of that behavior down by talking to them. That's what good de-escalation is. And so we talked to them about some de-escalation ideas, measures, things that people could use in case they should have a situation. And unfortunately, we didn't have anything of that nature this year.
Very good. Well, Sheriff, thank you so much for joining me. Is there anything else you would like to add or speak on before we let you go?
Yeah, I mean, I just appreciate the collaborative effort from the other agencies. We didn't have any specific threats. Obviously, if we thought that something was going to be threatening in any manner, we certainly wouldn't have people go to that location. We didn't have anything specific, but I just really wanted people to know that when we have these larger events, when we have a number of our citizens going to a central location and those locations are known, that law enforcement's always going to be prepared, even if you don't see it on the front end, maybe on the back end, things in place that people don't normally see, that we're going to put into play to really protect our citizens. I think that all of our law enforcement agencies in this area do a really good job with that, and we've really collaborated a lot over the last few years to make sure that we can maintain safety and security at these larger events and keep our community safe.
Well, on behalf of Valley News Live, as well as anyone who may be listening, I'd like to express my thanks and gratitude as you guys continue to maintain that level of excellence in keeping our community safe.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. That's Sheriff Jesse Jahner. Jesse, thanks again for coming in studio. And that's all for now on Valley News Now. Adam Shelf with Sheriff Jahner signing